Good morning and welcome to The Morning Call, a weekly podcast where we discuss the week's healthcare news that matters the most. I'm Neil Johnson here with my colleagues Dave Opelik and John Ziegler. Well, good morning. I think headlines Masters Tournament weekend. That was an exciting finish.
That was incredible.
Yeah. Rory McIlroy really fighting.
Resiliency. It's like the markets.
Up and down.
Up and down.
Well, it looks like the market's back up this morning, even though the Trump tariff terror continues. A little reprieve with some of the computers and phones. I know I need to get my iPhone update, so I'm looking to maybe get in there sooner than later, but at least hopefully don't have to pay more if I wait. Yeah. So excited to see that.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Another brief respite for everybody and revisit this in 3 months.
Well, the markets still remain active, deals getting done, at least I know in the technology sector, a lot of activity going on.
Yeah, it's been a busy week.
Well, let's start off here. Bain Capital, headline here, mega deal, $2.6 billion to acquire healthcare software company Health Edge. Really impacting, I didn't realize over 100 million lives and over 100 health plans as part of their technology platform. Really kind of amazing the reach that they get.
This is truly a big deal. And to your point, Neil, I didn't realize just how big Health Edge was, to be honest with you. And it's good to see from a market standpoint, it's good to see that these kinds of deals are still out there and still happening, given the quote unquote uncertainty in the market. I think this type of transaction is a bit sheltered because, again, it's a software / service type product where, the tariff scenario doesn't really impact it that much, but it's nice to see that people are finding deals and it's, the current uncertainty isn't really affecting the sector quite as profoundly as we thought it might.
Well, I think some of the factors include these large funds like Blackstone and Bain. They need to move money. So trading it at that level, they're not doing an IPO. I mean, the market's been a little tough. And so how do you move money to get investors repaid? And at least finding a deal here. I know it's been in the rumors lately.
Yeah.
Moving on the payer side, CareSource, an Ohio-based health plan, really expanding, making a jump to Massachusetts with the Commonwealth Care Alliance acquisition. I know this is not a overly large transaction, but a focused, complex, about 50,000 members in their group.
Yeah, they're a nonprofit with, a big emphasis on folks with significant physical or mental needs from, autism, IDD, behavioral health. So it's right down CareSource's, strike zone. But again, interesting transaction, again, Dayton centered, CareSource buying Commonwealth Care out of Massachusetts. A little expansion in CareSource's footprint there.
They've been creative. I know they've been going into different markets around the country, more so on the East Coast lately. So as they continue to be aggressive and innovative in a lot of sense.
In these complex cases, though, needing to stay not-for-profit seems to be a way of surviving. I think it's really hard to prove that dealing with complex cases will deliver huge returns to you. Mission-driven, love it.
Also, Transcarent completing their Accolade merger, taken private. I know that was announced that recently closed. EQT, publicly traded, sells their Cario Healthcare to KKR. Also, completing transaction, McKesson completed their Prism Vision. Again, I think $1 billion. Can't recall exactly. It was over $1 billion valuation, I believe.
Yeah, again, just as we mentioned earlier, I don't know that one's particularly shocking news from anybody. I think they'd announced that a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. But like I said, back to our earlier point on the Bain one, it's good to see that these deals are still happening given the current market, right? I mean, there's no real information in the information that we have here, but it seems like the current market conditions really aren't affecting previously announced deals, which is, again, I think the theme of the week here.
Physician practices have been a little tougher, so it's good to see that getting done. potential relief for many other practice groups, MSOs, even DSOs out there that are hoping to transact in the near future.
So one of the things that caught my eye with this is relative to the administration and expectations of moves by the administration. And what I mean by that is that you have site neutral payments are taking a higher position in terms of attention at the administration's level. So when you're buying practices and you have the expectation that they will be addressing site neutral payments, you're probably going to make a little more money. I'm anticipating you will begin to see some loosening and buying up of more practices, especially in the ASC space.
Well, we'll see also what happens with the state regulation as more and more states continue to consider getting their hands in and being involved with private equity investments into practices and providers. So we'll continue to keep an eye on many of the states that are pursuing more regulation and oversight. That's not over yet with the Trump administration coming in. Behavioral health activity with the Colorado's Health Solutions and the Behavioral Health Network with the MindSpring acquisition. Continued behavioral health remains hot. A lot of activity where it's autism really picked up, addiction, patient and outpatient. I mean, obviously, I think, Dave, we've seen some choppiness with certain providers, but net, the tailwinds still remain.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see, again, behavioral health is kind of, depending on which segment of behavioral health you're looking at, substance abuse or autism or IDD or, pick your area. I think each of those has its own challenges. Right now, been kind of where the administration is on, funding cuts for reimbursements and various other things. But, to your point, it's a consistent business model. I think, like I said, I think behavioral health does have a lot of upside to it still. I think there's a lot of opportunity in that space. Next 18 months, really either way. We'll see. I think there's a lot of good operators out there that are ready for acquisition. And I think time will just tell from a reimbursement standpoint what happens there. So, but anyway, I think this is an interesting deal, and we'll see what happens.
Sports med physical therapy, 45 clinics now in the New Jersey East Coast, continues to expand.
Yep.
I've seen activity here in the sleep center. That's, I think, been a kind of up and coming area. Seen more activity, whether it's devices and actually clinics. I know I've never done a sleep study. Have any of you ever done a sleep study?
I did one a couple of years ago. It wasn't really that hard, to be honest with you.
Did you stay up all?
No, got kind of the opposite idea there. But I think I don't know that I necessarily understand all of that, because you can do those sleep studies at home. Also, it's not necessarily an inpatient. Doesn't have to be an inpatient procedure, right? Like you just hook yourself up to the monitoring equipment, and I'm just not sure how. I don't know enough about this.
I think that's the technology and innovation coming in with the primary care and creating models that ultimately, do you really need? Is it really required to have sleep centers? Yeah.
Well, that's kind of my question. But I mean, apparently they believe in it, and they think they're Peninsula Capital. Like I said, they obviously believe in the methodology and whatever secret sauce they have. Time will tell with that one.
So good sleep means good mental health.
Sorry, John?
Good sleep means good mental health. Do you think there'll be some mergers there? Say, we need to offer this service.
I know I need to get some more sleep for sure.
All right.
Health at Home strengthens Indiana presence with dual home care acquisitions. Dave, I think this is.
Yeah, no. In a prior life, I did a fair amount of work with Help at Home. They're a great provider in the IDD and home care space. I think this is going back to our sort of earlier theme on the week. These were announced a little while ago. It's nice to see that these things are just coming to fruition and the deals are getting done. This lovability will be a good addition to Help at Home's services. The other company I'm not as familiar with. Again, I think this will be a a very solid acquisition for Health at Home. So good for them, and hopefully in the long term, it'll help them from a scale perspective to really work on those reimbursements and the efficiency issues that we've been talking about all morning.
Efficiency is a huge detractor in this space, so that's wonderful that they're addressing that. I mean, speaking with Orlando Health, for example, they can handle 46 home visits a week. That is it. So these companies are really important.
Well, onto the venture and other news. Vori Health secures $53 million in Series B for value-based musculoskeletal care. Excuse me, trying to spit that out. That's a
phenomenal amount of money. Our friends over at Include Health and Therapy were like, this is outstanding. Hopefully they'll notice us someday too. But it's a very interesting play too, to talk about the recognition there's fragmentation and addressing the fragmentation in this market, because the people that we are speaking with or working with right now are saying we accept that fragmentation and we're going to help each one of those fragments. But that means lots of interactions and small transaction sales. So this is a really good idea.
So big players involved in this, Intermountain, EcoHealth, Max Ventures. I know a lot of people are waiting for the Hinge Health IPO to set some pricing, understand where the value is for a business like this. Now, a little different where Hinge is going direct to consumer as a benefit, where it looks like Vori Health is like Include and Therapy, more working through the physicians. I think more of a RTM, remote therapy monitoring as well. So I think everybody's excited to at least see money continues to flow into the sector. Behavioral Health AI continues to get funding. Can-Do Health and Neurolutions merge, create Can-Do Inc. If I'm saying that correctly. I know, John, we talked a little bit about this. Kind of some new exciting technology coming out with this brain interface.
Yeah.
Continue to see innovation. And then finishing up, Bliss Aesthetics secures $17 million for an AI-powered cosmetic surgery platform. Now, any idea, does this help, like how much Botox I need or where the nip and tuck is? Not familiar with it. I know I could maybe get my eyes.
All of this rolls into mental health. If you feel good, if you look good, you feel good.
Well, I think it's, kind of, again, harping on my theme for the week here. You're seeing a lot of these, the AI powered everything here seems to be where the market's at these days, right? I mean, we're really seeing the transactions moving predominantly in software, in reimbursements, in, billing software. There were some service platforms in there, not a lot of products, not a lot of, a lot of physician practices trending right now. So hopefully, we can, despite all of this stuff, we start to see a little bit of a change in that pattern. Because I think, it'd be for our sakes and the market's sakes, I think we'd like to see a lot more, service company and physician practice type transactions in the market.
Yeah, push out some more young doctors.
Yeah.
Well, that's the news for the week. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully less volatility as we await the tariff updates as they continue to come out almost daily.
Big day tomorrow.
Yep.
April 15.
Thanks, everybody.